What's going on, guys? It's Nemo What Ifs here. This is my first video. I don't really know what to do, so I'm planning on doing a what if. So today's what if is what if Deku was betrayed. This is part one. I don't know how much parts I'm gonna have, but doesn't matter. So it's the storyline's gonna go the same, but there's gonna be a little twist to it. Hazashi stayed for a little while. So yeah. So we start off with the birth of Izuku Midoriya. So Izuku was originally supposed to be a mistake, but they kept him, well, because they think that he could be a pro hero one day. So, alright, let's get into it. So, we're on a hospital bed and we see a young Inko and Hazashi in the hospital, and Inko is giving birth to Midoriya. Um so here's a flashback. So Inko and Hazashi, they were drunk. They were drunk. So they were drunk. They didn't know what happened. So Hazashi smashed. We already know. And yeah, so Izuku was originally supposed to be a mistake. They didn't know what happened. They were intoxicated. So yeah. So right after Izuku was born, he didn't really cry. All he did was whine a little, and the doctors found that strange. When they did tests on him, they didn't find anything on him, so they just thought it was like natural for him. So Izuku is now 1 years old. 1 years old, Izuku started started reading. Izuku started reading high level books because he was smart. In this what if he's gonna be smarter than he was in the original anime, much smarter, like I don't know, million or billion times smarter, but that doesn't matter for now. So Izuku, he's been watching videos of movies. His mom's been putting on movies about like space and all that stuff, and like the Apollo 11 landing on the moon. So Izuku's been really interested in these types of things. So one day he sees the solar system in a movie, and he's wondering why don't they show anything that's on the planets. So then he goes on this search site that's called Who. It's basically a ripoff of Google. That doesn't matter. So he looks at it. He goes on and Who, and he searches up Mars. He searches up Mars and he sees the landscape on Mars, but he doesn't know if they're Photoshop or real. But then he notices Saturn to be one of the biggest planets in the solar system. Then he searches up Saturn, but he can't get anything. So he searches up all the other planets like Neptune, Jupiter, and so forth, but he doesn't see anything. So he's wondering what other planets are there, what's beyond them. So yeah. Then he sees Pluto, and he searches up what is the littlest planet or the ninth planet in our solar system. And it shows Pluto, and it says Pluto is a dwarf planet. And Izuku's wondering, what's a dwarf planet? So then he searches it up and he gets the definition. I'm not going to give you the definition, search it up yourself. So Izuku's wondering, what's the landscape on Pluto like, and so forth. All they really know is that Pluto is really cold due to how far it is from the sun, but they don't know what the landscape is like. So Izuku, he has his first goal set in stone. He has two goals for the series. Of course, one of them being a hero, and the other one is to go to space and know what lies ahead of this planet. So he gets a spark. He gets a spark, and he gets really energized for some reason. And Inko's wondering why is that. So is Sazashi. So then, while he's sleeping, they look through his search history and they see what he searched up, and they're happy because Izuku has his first ambition set in stone. So they're happy for him. Izuku and Bakugo have been friends since since they were one and to the half to a halfway point in when they're four. So Izuku, he's two now. He started researching on heroes and their powers. For the past year, he's been researching on the planets and so forth. He only got limited information about planets, but he was really interested in it. And he started reading books on space, and he found out that space is infinite and so forth. And he's happy because he has a chance of knowing more about space. So Izuku, he gets the biggest smile on his face, and he runs to his parents and says, "Mom, Dad," and with Inko and Hazashi responding, "Yes, son." And they hear these words come out his mouth: "When I grow up, I want to be a hero and know what lies beyond Earth." And Inko is surprised. Inko and Hazashi are surprised because he should not be learning about these words or these things at the age of one. And they're surprised and happy at the same time because he already has his goal set in mind. So he turns two. That's when he decides, I'm going to start researching on heroes' powers. The first hero is obviously All Might. All Might's his favorite hero. He has action figures of other heroes too, like Endeavor, Miracle, and so forth. But he doesn't really care for them. He mostly cares about All Might, because All Might is supposed to be the strongest hero in Japan. We don't know about the rest of the world, but we know that he is the strongest hero in Japan. So he's excited. He says, I want to be like All Might in the future. But that's not going to happen. He's going to be more powerful than All Might and probably a little less confident. So Izuku, Izuku, he goes to the quirk doctor when he's 4. So the percentage of quirkless people have gone down 5%. So 15% of the world is quirkless. I'm not gonna do it like 10 or 2% because that's kind of messed up. Because most people are like trying to get the quirkless people killed. If it's like 2%, that means all quirkless should be dead, to be exact. So yeah. So Izuku, he's 4 now. He's excited. He's at the doctor. He's jumping around. He's jumping around. He's happy. And he's sitting on his seat. He has an Endeavor figurine and All My figurine, and he's hopping around. He's hopping around stuff, and he's happy. He's happy because today he's gonna be told what his quirk is and if he can go to space to do his research. So the doctor comes in. He has the folder with the information, and he says, "Hey there, buddy. My name is Dr. Smith. You can, my name is Dr. Smith. You can call me Smith. I will be telling you what your quirk is today." And Izuku is like, "Hi, Smith. My name is Izuku Midoriya. This is my mom, Inko Midoriya, and my dad, Hazashi Midoriya." And the doctor is happy. He's happy. And he says, "Izuku, what do you want to do when you grow up?" And Izuku says right off the bat, "I want to be a hero." And the doctor is thinking to himself, "Oh, of course you want to be a hero." And then, to his surprise, Izuku says, "I also want to go into space and study other planets like Pluto." And this shocks the doctor, really, because he's had many patients for quirks, and they've never said anything about going to space or any job like that to help with research. And he's happy for the boy. He's happy. He wants to support Midoriya. And yeah, so he has a folder. He picks up the folder. Take in mind, he does not know anything about what's inside the folder. Only the researchers who looked at his quirk know what it is. So he picks up the folder and he starts reading it. He says, "Oh, oh, oh, oh." So they get to the fifth O, and it's not as surprising as the rest. It's actually a sad O. which is because it talks about his quirk. The first four were his strength, his durability, his speed, his energy restoration, and so forth. So for quirks, it said quirkless. He put the folder down, he closed it, and he put the folder down, and he looked at the parents, and then he looked at Midoriya and said, "Buddy, I'm sorry, but though you can't be a hero." And this shocks Inko and Hazashi. Hazashi, he's surprised. Inko, her face goes from a stern smile to a frown. And Hazashi, his eyes widen. His eyes widen out of shock. He's angry, but his eyes also widen. But Midoriya, he's surprised, sad, and happy at the same time. Hazashi looks at his face and he's wondering, why is he happy still? And Hazashi remembers that the doctor said, "I'm sorry, but you can't be a hero." So then he remembers that Izuku's other dream was to go to space and study. And he remembers that he doesn't need a quirk, he can do inventions to go to space. And he's really happy because he sees Izuku happy and he can stay happy even though knowing he can't be a hero. So the doctor says, "You may leave now," after giving them some time to talk to themselves. So Inko says thank you to the doctor. The doctor says, "You're welcome." So they leave. They go into their car, they check out and stuff like that. So sit in the car for a few minutes and the car starts. Inko looks at Hazashi and sees that he has a smile on his face. And she says, "Well, why are you smiling?" And Hazashi looks at Inko and says, "Look in the back at Izuku." She looks at Izuku and she sees him asleep, smiling. And she's wondering why. And then Hazashi says, his other goal can still be fulfilled even without a quirk. And Inko remembers his other goal and is happy because Midoriya never gave up on it. So yeah. So Hazashi, they've been living. It's been about 4 weeks since that day. Since that day, 4 weeks. And it's a Friday. It's a Friday on that fourth week. Hazashi wakes up, usual routine, wakes up, eats breakfast, and, well, goes to work. But this day wasn't really a good day for him to go to work. Because he goes to work and he gets called immediately to his boss's office. And to his surprise, his boss says, "You have been suspected from smuggling money from our company." And Hazashi is surprised and says, "No, I have never done that. I have never done that." And the boss says, "We have video footage of you doing it." As his coworker, the one that hates him the most, comes in and says, "Sir, I have the footage." And he shows the footage. It's a photoshopped footage of Hazashi smuggling money. And Hazashi says, "That's not me." And the boss says, "Stop lying. That is you. And you know it." So Hazashi, he gets quiet and says nothing because he knows if he continues, he'll dig himself into a bigger hole. So he just lets it happen. He gets fired. And before he leaves, the coworker that hates him the most says, "Have fun finding a new job." And this severely pisses off Hazashi. He's pissed beyond compare. So, yeah. And Hazashi, he goes home. Inko sees him come inside the house and she's like, "You're home early. What happened?" And Hazashi tells her what happened. And she's confused and pissed at the same time, but she doesn't show it. She shows a face of concern and worriedness. Then Hazashi says, "You know what? I'm done for today. I'm just going to sit here and take a nap and try to forget about what happened and look for a new job tomorrow." And Inko says, "All right." Inko goes upstairs, gets a pillow for him and a blanket, and he falls asleep. Meanwhile, with Izuku, he's in preschool with Bakugo, and they're playing and stuff like that. Bakugo still hasn't asked him what his quirk is yet, because that's not yet to come. So Bakugo, he's jumping around, having fun and stuff like that, and so is Izuku. So yeah, as I was saying, so Bakugo hasn't asked him his quirk yet. They're just playing. He doesn't really care what his quirk is right now because Bakugo's god complex comes into play. His god complex thinking that he's above everyone and saying, doesn't matter. No matter what Izuku's quirk is, it won't be better than mine's. So Bakugo's in his head, like, oh, this is normal. So Bakugo, he's playing around and stuff like that, and he doesn't really care. So school's over, and Mitsuki, Bakugo's mother, comes pick up Izuku and Bakugo. And Inko has already told Mitsuki that Izuku is deemed quirkless. She does not care that he's quirkless, he's still a nice boy to her. So yeah. Then she walks in, sees Izuku and Bakugo playing, and Bakugo Katsuki, or Bakugo, sees his mom and says, "Mommy." And he runs to her. And Izuku sees her and runs to her and says, "Good afternoon, Auntie." "Good afternoon, Auntie." And she says, "Hey, Izuku." "Hi, Katsuki." And she says it's time to go. While Katsuki goes packing his stuff, um, Mitsuki pulls Izuku in, not grabbing him by the shoulder or wrist and pulling him. She just taps him on the shoulder and tells him to come, and she asks him the question, "How was your day today?" And he says, "Good. Me and Kanchan were having fun playing with the blocks." And she's happy about that because she knows that he's quirkless and people look down on quirkless people. So she's happy that he's having fun. So Izuku's having fun and enjoying his time playing around. So they get home. Hazashi is already awake, and they hear a ring on the doorbell, and it's Mitsuki dropping off Izuku. So Inko and Mitsuki talk for a few minutes, like 2 or 3 minutes, and yeah, then she says, "Izuku, come in." And Hazashi knows she's talking to somebody, but then she hears her say, "Come in," but she doesn't know who he said come into because he completely forgot Izuku. Not because Izuku's quirkless, because he's been having a stressed out day. So Izuku walks in, and Hazashi is kind of dazed because he just woke up, and he runs to Hazashi and says, "Daddy, Daddy." Hazashi said, and then Hazashi, his eyes clear, and he says, "Oh, hi, Izuku." And before Hazashi could say anything else, something goes through his head, and it's the thing about Izuku being quirkless. And his happy smile, his big happy smile, goes to a regular smile. And Izuku says, "I gotta go, Daddy." And Hazashi says, "Okay." Izuku goes and changes, goes on his laptop and searches things up on heroes and space. So they hear this. So he's doing that. Hazashi, he's in his head thinking, "Damn it, I can't stay with him. If I do, I won't be able to fend for this family and I'll be looked down upon by society due to being poor." And he gets the smart idea to dip. He plans on leaving after a month because that's how long it's gonna take him to leave, to pack his things. So he starts packing. He secretly packs, And let's just say Hazashi is not all for one. We're not making him all for one in this. No. So Hazashi, he's not all for one in this. But he has two other quirks apart from fire breathing. The second is a storage space, and he can copy things. So, to relieve himself of suspicion that he's about to leave from Inko, he copies her clothes, and every time he takes out clothes, he puts one of her clothes inside to make it look like no space has been lost. So, it's been a month now, and the time for him to leave has come. It hits 12, exactly 12. And Hazashi, he gets out of bed and he leaves. He leaves the room, he puts clothes on, opens the door, and leaves. And without any trace. So yeah, he leaves. Inko wakes up the next morning thinking he went to go find a job, or he already found a job and he already went and starts early. Then goes. Goes. So Izuku wakes up, he asks, Mommy, where's daddy? And she says he went to work without knowing that he left. So later that day, Izuku comes home and stuff like that, doesn't see Hazashi and says, Mommy, daddy's still not home. And Inko says, yeah, he's probably still at work working overtime. And Izuku says, okay, Mommy. So then later that evening, Hazashi never came home. And Inko Inko calls him but didn't get a response. He didn't pick up. He didn't hang up either. He just didn't take the phone. He just didn't listen to the phone ringing. So he then she texts him, and to her surprise, what comes after the text that she sent is, you have been blocked. And she's surprised. She's in utter shock and she's wondering, why did he block me? But she doesn't have time for that. So Izuku's already asleep. So she goes inside. She takes a shower and stuff like that. She goes to her wardrobe to take clothes. And she's baffled. She's baffled and dumbfounded. She looks at her wardrobe and sees dresses, and she's wondering, where is Hazashi's clothes? She looks around and stuff like that, and she doesn't see anything of Hazashi's. And she puts two and two together. He blocked her and doesn't want to pick up her calls, and no clothes of him together, that he left. And she was already depressed as it is. She does not go into fat small Inko, no. She's still skinny, but loses she loses height by 2 or 3 inches. 3 inches. So she's still skinny Inko. So yeah. So that's how it is. So months went by. Inko has been telling Izuku that his dad goes to work early now, so he doesn't really have time and he works overtime. So Izuku doesn't feel sad that his dad left. So this happened for 2 months, and then a week later, this is where it all goes downhill for Izuku. Like, it all goes to shit. So he goes to preschool with Bakugo. And one playing with blocks and stuff like that, they're making a whole castle and stuff like that. Tower. It's a tall tower. It's taller than Izuku. Bakugo asked the teachers to place blocks on it. So, yeah. So, it's inside of Izuku, and Bakugo on the other side, on the outside, says, Hey, Izuku. And Izuku says, Yes, Kachan? And Bakugo says, You never told me what your quirk is. So, what's your quirk? So Izuku, his smile goes into a frown, but nobody can see this, and he says, about that, I'm quirkless. Bakugo, hearing this, goes from a big smile to a normal smile to a frown, then a straight face. And he takes the blocks and he throws, and then he pushes it onto Izuku. And Izuku gets hurt from this. He doesn't get hurt bad, but he gets hurt from this. And he gets out and he looks at Bakugo standing on top of him and says, Kanchan, why would you do that? And Bakugo says, because you're quirkless. You're a quirkless loser. You're a nobody. Nobody needs you. And Izuku says, my mom needs me. And Bakugo says, she's probably the only person that needs you. So, from that day forward, Bakugo started bullying Izuku, sending explosions at him and stuff like that. And then we come to the turning point where it all goes to shit. Like, all goes to shit. So, it's basically when that kid's getting bullied by Bakugo and friends. So, Izuku sees a kid getting bullied by Bakugo and his friends, and he tries to stop him, and he says, Kachan, stop. If you don't stop, I'll stop you myself. And Bakugo, he laughs, he smirks, and he says, here's the deal. If you can fend me off, me and my friends off from this dude, we'll never bully you again. And this is what scares Izuku, because they're all using quirks, something he doesn't have. So then they all attack Izuku. Izuku, he's severely hurt. He is severely hurt. And before Bakugo left, he says, see you tomorrow, Izuku. We'll bully you again. And Izuku, that's when he starts feeling depressed. Well, not exactly. He's feeling sad. And he goes he goes to the kid that was getting bullied. And he reaches out his hand and says, are you okay? And to his surprise, the kid that was getting bullied pushed him and said, move away from me, you quirkless wannabe. And he says, why did it have to be you? Why did it have to be you? And started crying and saying, now I'm going to be looked down upon by everyone because I had to be saved by a quirkless loser. And Izuku, hearing this, gets depressed. Really depressed, actually. So, yeah. So, Izuku hears this, he gets depressed. Mitsuki comes, asking him how his day. He lies and says it was good. Mitsuki sees that it's a lie, but she doesn't say it out loud, or does she say it to Inko? So she gets home and wondering what happened to him, and sees Baku with the biggest smile on his face, and she says, Katsuki, what did you do to Izuku? And Katsuki says, I did nothing. Why are you asking me this? And she says, when I asked Izuku how was his day, he lied. And Bakugo, acting skills 100, says, what? What happened? And Mitsuki is surprised because he says, what happened? She expected him to do something to him, knowing how he does not respect quirkless people at all, whatsoever. So, yeah. So, it's been happening for years now. So, it happens until they get to UA. UA is gonna be a college in this, because I just want it to be a college. I'm not going to be making no 18 plus scenes between the first, second, or third parts. I don't know about the fourth. So all I know is that for the second, from first to third, I'm not making no 18 plus scenes. So Izuku, he's getting bullied a lot. He's getting bullied a lot. And not just because of Bakugo, but everybody in the school, even the teachers. The teachers don't hurt him that bad. They just hit him in the head with his quirks. They don't hit him that hard. They just hit him. And yeah, for the rest of the class, they're